Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. I'm your host, Rico Muhammad. My co-host is there to my right, maybe your left, Mr. Chuck Snow, and our resident economist slash comedian, Michael Lampel. He's on the other end. We've got Chuck Book in, but we thought that tonight would be a very timely time to ask Mike to come back on and join us to talk a little bit of money, talk economy, with everything that is going on since the last time that we've had him on. We've had a couple of, I think we said three bank runs since then, and a slew and a litany of other different topics that we definitely want to get into, and how that's going to affect us in the trucking industry. With that being said, a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video. If you have a question, we always welcome your interaction. Use the chat feature. If you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on YouTube, use that chat feature. Type whatever it is that you would like to type. Ask a question, make a comment. We'll bring it up and we'll show it here on live on the screen, and we'll definitely address it as quickly as we possibly can. So with that being said, want to go ahead and welcome both Chuck and Mike to the show, and let Chuck kind of give us a little opening salutations as well. Good evening, Chuck.
Hey, good evening, Rico. Great to be here, and great to have Mike with us tonight. I'm not going to be around for the next couple of weeks. I'm taking a long, well-deserved holiday that I've been planning for many, many years. So I don't want to get into that, but I'm going to be gone with my bride for 17 days, which is the longest we've ever been away. And I'll report on it. It's a surprise, and I'll report on it when we get back. But right now,
surprise is if you come back and you're married.
That happened a long time ago, buddy. Maybe we'll do it again. You never know.
You never know.
Well, I'm still on my first wife. We met 45 years ago, so I think we're pretty good.
Thank God for Alzheimer's. You still think you're on your first wife.
I do want to touch some things on the economy. I have some great concerns that certainly trickle right down to our industry. Michael, one of the things I was thinking about the other day, now there's been no shortage of labor since, if I'm not mistaken, World War II, which has been over for, my God, almost 78 years or something. I think it ended in 45.
80, no.
It ended in 45.
Yeah, 78
years. So there's been no shortage of labor. Now all of a sudden, all of us baby boomers are retiring or have retired. I'm one of them, okay? And we all seem to do it right around the same time, unfortunately. Historically, for the last 78 years, we've been looking at economic forecasts and recessions and things like that, and we take unemployment into account for whether we're going through recessionary times or not. Because there's such a shortage of labor, we're not reporting recessionary times, but things are changing, and we all know that. Do you think they're going to start looking at what makes a recession differently, using different matrix and not using unemployment and employment figures as a marker?
I think they are, because the tools they're using don't work. So let's just be clear. People shouldn't freak out if it's a recession. The old joke, difference between a recession, depression. Recession is when my neighbor loses a job, and depression is when I lose my job.
Right.
So, but I think a recession is just a benchmark measurement. It doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot of things, right? It's just they're measuring the total dollar value of all the goods and services in the economy year over year. It's supposed to continue. If it falls for 2 straight quarters, they call it a recession. But that means nothing, because the real marker for you, me, and everybody else is who's got a job.
Right. And everybody's got a job. Even people that shouldn't have jobs have jobs.
Well, no, you have a job, all right. I mean, this is the weird part, is that the U.S. right now is in the strangest position ever. The unemployment rate in the U.S. now is the lowest it's ever been in history.
Right.
Okay? The last time it got to this level was about 1950. and that was still above where it is right now. So
because
you have a
Korea
three and
was
a half
going on.
percent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have about a 3.5% unemployment rate. They're still out of 230,000 jobs in the last month, net adding. The participation rate is falling, is increasing. Sorry. So the only way for them to get in. So the real issue is inflation. That's the real problem, right? And the fact is, what we have right now is in Canada and the U.S. is we've got governments who are adding ton loads of stimulus. Now, the US is going to feel it very, very soon. And that's because last month was the end of the pandemic benefits, the end
Right.
of COVID benefits. A lot of families are going to start hurting very soon if they're not already hurting, because a lot of families who count on that monthly supplement for COVID benefits is now gone. So a lot of the food issues, there's going to, it always takes at least 6 months to show up.
Well,
It
the
takes
rent
about
assistance and all that different. Yeah.
So okay, so in Canada, I keep seeing it on the news and reading it in the media that the food banks are under more pressure than they've ever been. Is
Yes.
that just because people can't deal with the inflation on their groceries, the inflated prices, or is that because of government taking away everybody's security blanket, or is it
Not
both?
in Canada. In Canada, we have a government who wants to basically drown us with our own money. But the problem is not that.
With our grandchildren's money, Michael.
Yeah, yeah. The problem in Canada is that the housing costs are so high, and they've been raising rates. So that, they're raising rates faster than they're raising income. So basically, you got to keep a roof over your head.
Right.
There's your choice, right? Your choice is either eat or stay indoors. That's your choice.
Well,
And
I
that,
don't think that's just something that's exclusive to Canada. I believe that's
no, 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 no. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Oh, yeah.
The difference,
No, no.
Rico, that I can tell you is if you remember back in 2008 and hundreds of thousands of Americans just left their houses, just locked the door. Some of them left the dog in with a big bag of food and the cat. And I'm not making that up. Canadians historically never walk away from real estate.
Yeah, they did.
That's
1992.
it does not happen.
1992. No, it did in 1992. They literally left the keys on the doorstep and left.
In 1992, they did that. I remember the
Yeah.
recession. I don't remember them doing that.
Oh yeah, they did. They again, the interest rates were about 9-10% mortgage rates, but we had a very deep recession in 1991 to 19 from 1990 to 1993 in Ontario. We had a very deep recession. We bottomed out in 1993. We didn't recover till 1996,
Right.
right? So I
I
think
remember those years. They
but
were lean.
oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, but I think it's the U.S. though, Rico, and I think that's really the issue. The U.S. is the engine. It is the engine of the world. It still is.
Yeah.
It's more so now than it's been for a long time, especially now that China's off the board.
Right.
so before I guess let me I got a question, a big broad question, and then I think we'll try and bring it down with all of the different stuff that been seeing around the world with the different world leaders and everything. Looks like China, Russia, and all these people are joining forces and everything changing over which currency they want to buy petroleum in, all the different aspects of that. How big of an effect it was really could that truly have on the United States, Canada, and the world if the dollar is no longer the major
Yeah.
currency?
I hear that all the time. The dollar be gone. The dollar be gone. No, the dollar will not be gone because who in their right mind wants to hold the Chinese yuan as core currency?
The Chinese don't.
Not
They're
me.
coming here and buying everything they can.
Well, they've been trying to get their money out of China for
Right.
a long time, but they have very, very strict currency controls now. Very
Right.
strict. There's only and the Swiss used to be one of the major currencies. They're toast. Forget it. That's gone. Right. So there's really, Rico, do you know there's 1,000 billionaires in the United States?
No, I didn't know it
Thousand
was
billionaires.
right.
There is so much cash floating around that the only asset in the world that can hold all that liquidity is the 10-year T-bill. That's it.
Wow.
Nothing else can hold it. So rates, and this is really weird. So what you have is the U.S. central bank is raising rates, but the bond yields are falling. So you're like, okay, that's
That doesn't
strange.
make sense.
Well, because what's happening is there's so much liquidity, they're buying more and more T-bills.
Uh,
So they're buying more, corporations are holding T-bills,
right.
regional banks are holding T-bills. It's basically, it's like a storm supply. Like we're gonna have a storm. Yeah, bulk up. And what do we T-bills, bulk up on T-bills because we can sell them on any exchange in the world. It doesn't matter where we are, we can sell a T-bill.
Okay.
Right? Every exchanger in the world would take a 10-year T-bill. So but the bond, and that's why the bond yields are falling, because as the prices go up, the bond yields go down, but the bank rate, which is your loan and everybody,
Right.
that's going up. So there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect right now.
Got it. So I guess coming back down, zeroing in, coming back from a broad view, coming back down to maybe a little bit more focused, a little bit more centralized. So that really is not going. That's not going to have a major effect as far as draconian times with the currencies and everything like that.
No, but what's going to happen though? I mean, let's focus on micro level. Let's get back to Earth. Instead of, we can talk about the moon forever, and I'd love to do that because the moon's a great. It's a great place to hang out. What I love about the moon, there's no traffic, so it's great. But I think for the average person in the U.S. and in Canada, the inflation is going to be the question, and that's going
Right.
to continue to hurt. That is going to continue to hurt. So that's going to affect retail sales. That's already affecting real estate. In the U.S. so more than Canada. Canada is in a bizarre situation that we've opened the floodgates to immigration in Canada. So I think but the cost of living is killing them because businesses say, listen, I can't sell more. Like I'm not selling more. So how do you want me to keep covering these costs?
Yeah. You know what? There's a lot of businesses now that are folding up, retail
And,
business,
and, and
because rent
by the way,
increased.
sorry to interject, but also a very big issue that's about to hit the U.S. is Obamacare. So part of this whole debate, the budget and all that, is certain factors of Obamacare are now pulled off the table too. They were canceled also. So if you think of the American consumer is about to take it across, the face with the end of COVID benefits, and then take it across the face with end of certain Obamacare benefits.
Right.
So this is so with the effect of coming back down and talking about the different things with the bank, with going back to the bank runs and everything of that nature, how big of an effect is that having on available credit? We know the interest rates are automatically going up, but credit tightening, how big of an effect is all of this having? When it comes down to lines of credit, credit card interest rates, so on and so forth. The availability of credit.
The availability of credit is there, but at the same time, again, it's going to be very uncertain. Because of what happened with SVB and then the other bank as well in the U.S. I'm trying to remember the name. What you're now going to get is a lot of banks. Some banks are going to loosen, some banks are going to restrict. You're never quite sure where you're going to be standing.
Right.
It's all breaking down, and you're never quite sure whether your bank is healthy or not healthy. Like I'll tell you something about the collapse of the SVB. It was really weird because I don't think anybody noticed this, but certain people did notice it. Was that no one has ever been able to explain in over 100 years why there's depositor insurance. Now, think about what this means. Depositors were only covered up to $100,000, right?
Right.
And you went, well, this doesn't make sense. Why is the depositor taking a risk? They just put their money in the bank. Why are they getting wiped out? Right? And what happened was, and nobody, by the way, this is over 100 years. No one's ever explained, if Jimmy Stewart, the famous movie, right? Wonderful Life, when the bank, no one's ever explained And I've talked to some academics, and they said, we've tried to find out. No one's ever explained how this ever got created or why there's depositors insurance up to a certain limit when a person today sells a house and they're way over that limit.
Right.
So why is the depositor getting wiped out? They didn't do anything. They just put their money in the bank. So what was interesting about SVB, Rico, is that for the first time ever, all the depositors were covered.
Right.
Right.
The entire everything above 100,000, because normally,
So, Michael, was that done so there wasn't a run on every small bank in the United States?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly it. They said, "Oh my God," because then you had the other bank right at the same time.
You would have had contingent.
because now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. The way that the FDIC insurance is supposed to work is it's covered up to 100,000. Is that per account at different? If you have an account with different institution, say like if you had say if you had 100,000 in BOA and 100,000 in Wells Fargo or whatever, you still, so that those two total of 200,000 would still be covered because they were in different institutions, or is it 100?
So yeah, first I want to say 100,000 per account in Canada, $250,000 in the US, but per bank.
Now, hold on a second, Mike, let's just say you had $1 million at the Royal Bank, okay? And you had it in 10 different accounts. Would you be covered for the whole million or just up to the 100,000?
Just the 100,000 if it's in one bank.
No, 100,000 per type of account. So
Okay.
100,000 RRSP, 100,000 non-registered, 100,000 TFSA, 100,000 RISP, 100,000 RESP. That's it.
Wow.
Now in the US, it was $250,000. That's it. So, but this is the weirdest story in the world, though, Rico. This is the crazy part. This was the first time that American millionaires saved Americans because the government, well, we're going to let it play out. There's FDIC insurance. It was all the millionaires who were at the SVB.
Right.
And this is crazy. What they all did, this was true. They all got all of their public relations people to start creating social media campaigns of this is the end of the world. The government has to come save us. And that's exactly why the government stepped in to save. So they actually saved the millionaires. SVB isn't your bank. SVB is the
Right.
millionaires' bank.
Right.
The
Right.
tech guys. So, but now they created the precedents, which means going forward, there's no need for the FDIC because
Well,
they basically said any bank going under, we're going to insure the entire amount.
I think a lot of this came about too, as well, from I was watching. I wish I would have. I might have to go back. I DVR'd a special on CNBC that they had about the whole thing that happened back in 2008. With
Right.
all the different stuff all the stuff that happened. I think that maybe the precedent may have been set then when they with Bears and Stearns and with Lehman Brothers and that whole debacle.
Yeah, it's worse than you know. If
Well, they've been
Americans
bundling
actually,
Mike, they've been bundling mortgages ever since. Like that's never really stopped. So that's been going on, correct?
Yeah, I mean the mortgage industry. Look, the financial universe for 100 years is now rotated from what used to, people say, well, how come I can't go into the bank? I know the bank manager, he'll give me a loan. No, 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 no. Now you got to have an asset, and the number one asset is your house. That's the number one asset in here, UK, it doesn't matter what it is, Canada, whatever it is. So, but this entire thing was based on continuously increasing real estate markets. But the '08 Rico, if you actually knew what happened in '08, you'd lose more hair than you already have.
They definitely went into the CNBC special that they had. It was definitely the bits and pieces that I was able to catch. It definitely made you stop and really like that thing goes way down the rabbit hole deep, and that thing stinks from way on up all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, CNBC, it's nice stuff they do. It's great with popcorn and chips and a Coke. But if you wanted to see the real story, PBS Frontline had a very famous episode called Too Big to Fail. And let me tell you, you watch that one,
Yeah.
you're never going to sleep again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sad. The way that whole thing played out is really sad. But they definitely they kind of went into detail about how the heads of all of the big investment banks in New York, and Paulson, I think, was at the time was the head of the Fed, and how they basically kind of strong armed the whole situation.
No, they were the winners. They won big time. Oh, did they win big time? They didn't strong arm anybody. The reverse. The federal government had to strong arm them to take the money. That was the weirdest thing ever. But that wasn't the weird part. There's a great scene. They actually made a movie out of it too. There's a great scene where Ben Bernanke. So there's a room. It's 2008. It's a Wednesday. It's November. Lehman just collapsed. There's a meeting between Nancy Pelosi, John Boehner, or as I call him, Bonehead, John Boehner, Barney Frank, Nancy Pelosi, Hank Paulson, Geithner, and Bernanke, and they're having a meeting, and Lehman just ended, and this is the truth. It's bizarre. So Paulson says to Pelosi, "Well, we need $800 billion." And she's like, "Okay, where's your proposal?" And he hands it to her, and she looks at it, she's like, "This is 3 pages."
Right.
Yeah. You want $800 billion on 3 pages?
Right.
Yeah. And when do you need it? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah. They talked about that.
And she's like, "Well, maybe in several months, but can you give me more pages?"
No.
We need it tomorrow.
So bringing reverse, we're gonna bring it all the way back around the trucking. So what the effect that this is having on a guy, a small trucking company, has a couple of credit cards, couple of business credit cards. How does all of these different big things come back down on a smaller level? How does this affect him?
Well, we've been talking about this for a long time, the three of us, which is I've said it for a long time, that they got to keep a very tight control of their financials.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Right.
Now, I want to give whoever's listening, I want to give you a couple of tips of what's about to happen, because artificial intelligence is about to hit you in a way you won't like.
Come on.
Okay. So already they're implementing AI algorithms into the banking system, which is already there. But what they're going to start doing is they're going to start monitoring your account activity at a very minute level.
The utilization.
Know all of it.
Okay.
Money in, money out. Okay, all of it. And also, but they're going to plug in the next few years, whether you're asking for credit, it's going to be interconnected. Now, what the AI is going to do, the AI teaches itself who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a bad back and you're off the rig for 2 weeks, the AI is going to know it. And you will not be surprised if you get a call from your bank saying, that $100,000 line of credit you got operating right now? Yeah, we need you to take it down by 20K. Well, when? How's the end of next Friday?
Wow.
This is going to increase. Okay. Now, so one of the things, and I recently did this with a client, and he had all his business with one Canadian bank. I said, "No, we got to pull you apart."
Right.
So this is definitely, go. I'm gonna touch on. I'm gonna make a note, but I want to come back to that. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I said to him, "Look, I mean, he's making good money out there. He's a doctor, no problem. But I said, you can't have all your things in one bank. You got to pull it apart.
Exactly.
You got to have your business over here, your personal over here, line of credit over here. Pull it apart, because right now they're going to control you."
Yeah.
So putting a pause right there for a second, because I don't want to lose that point. So what would you suggest for a small business how many bank accounts would you suggest that they have?
It's not the bank accounts. How many banks?
But
One
that's
bank.
what I meant. I'm sorry.
First
Right.
of all, Rico, I think they should
How many
separate
different banks would you
personal from
suggest?
business. You never do the two at the same place, because if you're having problems in your personal with your personal finance, you don't want it to bleed into your business and vice versa. So keep them
And
separate.
they're watching the inflows from your business, and it's on the personal side. Yeah, it's going to cross over.
Yeah, and you may need to borrow from Peter to pay Paul one day. It does happen in business,
Right.
where you go and you take a line against your house because you're short $20,000 for an engine repair job, and you've used your bank line with your company. You can't get any more money, or vice versa. Just try to keep it separate.
Well, this is what I really wanted to get into on, especially on tonight's show, and I got the other subject that we want to get into here as well. But one thing that I definitely try to pride us on doing is talk on our podcast is talking real world, real deal scenarios, not pie in the sky, not academia how it's supposed to look. We want to talk about what actually happens in the real world. And so what I mean by is this a decent strategy, Mike? Correct me if reel me in if I'm going too far down. So I've always heard that it's good to do if you can have your different business accounts. It's great to have business relationships if you have a credit union, a big national bank, and a smaller, maybe regional local bank. Those kind of have a three-pronged approach. What do you say to that?
Well, the days of having those multiple banks, like the regional, those are gone. I'll tell you why. Because those were relationships in the '60s when the banks weren't connected, right? Those were relationships you created from the 1920s, the 30s, up to like the birth of the internet. Because if you needed cash, the check is stuck in the mail. You needed that float. That's why you created those relationships. You'd come in and you needed to withdraw a couple of thousand, but the check hadn't come in from your client. The bank manager would sign off. So yeah, give him a couple of thousand.
Those
I
days
know
are
he's okay.
long gone.
Long gone. Now you have connectivity, right? I can pay you through Venmo. I can pay you through
Right.
Interact. Like I can pay you in 48 hours. Okay.
Right.
So the question really becomes is all of them have central commands that read the computers. And as much as the guy might love you, as much as you go with him to the bars and the strip joints, makes no difference. He can't sign off.
Right.
He's got limits, and they're watching him as much as he's watching you.
And he'll lose his job if he signs off. That's
right.
how it works today.
So you want to be able to say to yourself, well, first off, as we said before, you have your business and your personal separate.
Right.
Separate. Don't put them in the same kettle. And also be very careful with lines of credits and mortgages, because one of the things they do in Canada, I'm pretty sure they do it there too. So in Canada, the bank tries to tie you down. And what they do is you go in for a $500,000 mortgage. They assess your house at $1.3 million, and they secure 1.1 million of that.
Okay.
But I only borrowed 500. Yeah. But don't worry about it. We'll give you a line of credit. Don't worry about it. We gave you a line of credit. Don't worry about it. Up to 1.1 million. What they just did was they took away all your financial maneuverability. They did it so that you can't go anywhere else. Because anybody's searching you have a house, Rico. Yep, the other bank is already first place, and they got like 700. They got 85% of your equity. So nothing we can do.
Max you out.
Yeah. And the other thing they do, and I don't know about in the US, but the one thing I do know, and it's not just banks, it's leasing companies, finance companies, they all do it. They put a lien against your property or your equipment, and you pay it off, and they don't discharge the lien immediately.
Yeah.
And now they're good with mortgages, but they are lousy with lines of credit. The Canadian banks, anyways, I can't speak for that behavior either way with the American banks.
So getting back to, go ahead, Rico. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're just, if I advise any business owner today, I say, look, just pull it all apart, and then the lines of credits, pay down the line. Focus on your line of credit more than your mortgage.
Right. Okay. All right. So shifting gears, we talked about, and I want to come. So we made a note that we're going to talk about new emission standards, but before we go there, I wanted to go back and talk to really quickly about understanding your finances. Reason I wanted to go back and talk about this really quickly, because this has so much to deal with the day-to-day operations that every small trucking company has right now. Because one of the things that I've really started to notice, and I know that there's a whole bunch of hoopla and everything going on. People are talking about, Michael, I don't know if you how closely you follow any of this stuff, but people are talking about broker transparency on the rates, this, that, and the third. But one of the biggest things that in my humble estimation and opinion, is one of the things that we have to do as trucking companies is we got to understand what our cost of operations are. And people don't know what our cost of operations are. And you don't know how to negotiate the rates properly. And I think that's the biggest thing that we are having an issue with getting rates where we need them to be, is partly in due to these dispatch services and different things. The people that don't really understand, they just trying to negotiate and get some revenue going, but they don't really understand the intimacies of your operation. And if you don't know what the hell your operational cost is, you're doing not only yourself a disservice, but you're doing everybody. You're complaining about your. In my humble opinion, you have your animosity directed in the wrong direction. It's not the broker. The broker is doing solid business. You don't know your damn business.
That's
we
right.
Gotta do a better job of understanding our end of the obligation.
Rico, can you imagine a guy selling tires and he doesn't know what they cost?
Right.
And he's trying to put a markup, because that's what truckers try to do all day long. How can you negotiate when you don't know what your cost is?
We don't understand what the cost per mile is for our insurance. We don't know what the cost per mile for fuel is. We don't know what the cost per mile it is for maintenance on a monthly basis. All of these different things, if we don't have that thing broken down and understand what that thing equals out to at the end of the day, month, year, we are doing our own selves a disservice. It's nobody else, it's us.
I see this all the time where people, I saw it at Matt's. I was blown away at how many people tried to put their hands in truckers' pockets by selling them all sorts of crap that they don't need and can't afford.
It happens all the time, Chuck. They think
I know.
I don't know why people think truckers make so much money.
I was listening to Sirius XM for a while today. I was driving somewhere, and an ad came on. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get sued.
Right.
From a company that's brokering loads on through some sort of a platform, and they say brokers take up to 35%. We only charge 18%. And I'm going, are you joking? Like, I can tell you from running a brokerage house, like the word on the street is brokers work on 13%. Well, they may work on 13%, but they've got a huge overhead and there's a lot of stuff that they lose money on. Okay. If you're doing a 13%, you're doing damn good. You're doing really well. And here's these guys, they're trying to tell you that brokers are getting 35% and they're only charging you 18%, and you're going to get loads from brokers and you get loads from direct shippers, and and they're only taking 18%. Well, I'd like to see how long this thing lasts, and because it's 18% is a lot of money to pay right across for everything. Some things you can afford it, but you've got to know your cost, whether you can afford it or not. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, I brought that whole piece up just to say, we were talking about the different things, the operating and stuff like that. But understanding your operational costs is huge, because you got to understand that in order to effectively negotiate. I've been seeing some of the different spot market rates here lately that have been advertised, and I agree that it is absolutely astonishing. I had a conversation with the broker the other day for a load that was give you an example, 150 miles away from where I was at the time, coming back down to Atlanta, which was what I wanted to do. I needed to come back down to Atlanta. It was a refrigerated load of chicken. Total miles on that thing would have been somewhere in the ballpark of about 350 miles. And he was trying to move that load for $500. I said, sir, that freight will grow legs before I put it on my truck.
Yeah, you can't do it.
And he was negotiating with me, and he was getting closer to where I wanted it to be. But there's no way in the world I would have. But the brokers are they are successfully moving this quote unquote cheap freight, because the majority of us as business owners don't know our business, and that's how they're able to get away with this. We can't put this off on somebody else. We have to accept the accountability portion of what we.
It's the truckers that set the rate, not the brokers.
No, yeah, exactly. Chuck's right. The brokers can only charge what the market's willing to pay.
Right. No more than a real estate guys. A real estate agent does not set the price of what a house sells for.
No.
So nobody's putting a gun to our heads. We got to do a better job on understanding our operational costs and holding.
But this is what I'm saying. But what we're saying. But we don't have to do a thing. Remember, we said this months ago. I said you win if the other guy takes it at a loss.
Yes.
Right?
Because it's going to forever. You can't run under the cart principles. Can't realize a profit. You can't. You got to be able to be profitable in order to keep the doors open.
Right. So I mean, if it was me, look, if it was me, I'd say, look, you know what? You want to give this, you give it to the cheaper guy. No problem. Go ahead. Now, if you got a load that really needs to get there, you give me a call. Here's my price.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not in a hurry, go ahead. There's always going to be a sucker. And here's what we circle back to what we started with: financing cost. So here's the interesting part. Of all the equipment financing in the U.S., transportation equipment is 22.4% of all financing.
That's expensive.
That means the banks were financing equipment all over the United States. Harvesters, this, that, the whole thing. Equipment financing. Transportation equipment is 22.4%.
That is expensive.
That's how big it is.
Right.
A quarter.
Yeah.
It's almost a quarter. It's almost 25%.
All the equipment financing in the United States.
Oh, okay. I was thinking that you were saying that's the interest rate.
No, but that's a lot.
And
the scary part is now you talk about a new Freightliner, and I hear the odd person say, they're coming down in price. I got a call from a guy a month ago, and that's up in Canada, who just ordered a brand new Freightliner, the latest model, and it was $250,000 Canadian, which I guess, Mike, is about 190 US, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So you know what? $190,000 for a truck that is now certainly, I'm sure it's a beautiful truck, but how the hell are you going to make payments on it? Because rates have come down.
Exactly. And that's what we talked about before. That's how you sign yourself up into indentured servitude. You become a slave to the truck. You cannot take time off. You can't go to little Johnny's birthday party.
Hell no. You can't. You can't even buy little Johnny a birthday cake.
Right. You can't go. You can't do spring break. You can't do none of that stuff because you got to get out there and run because you got to you.
But Rico, that doesn't
yourself
even work because the gentleman I spoke to, he said, now this was the fellow that ran a couple of trucks in Europe. He had never done it in North America. And I really did my best to talk him out of it, but there was no way. He was an Eastern European gentleman. And he had his mindset that he was going to buy a truck for $250,000, never driven a mile in North America. And I kept saying to him, you don't do this. And he said, well, I'm going to run team. And I said, well, that doesn't work because what you're going to end up doing if you have a good, co-driver, you guys can bang off, it's nothing. You can bang off 5,000-6,000 miles a week, running to the coast and back. And that's 300,000 miles a year. In 3 years, that truck's got almost 1 million miles. You're still going to owe money on it, and the truck's
Right.
not going to be worth. It's not going to be worth anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So you see, so when you think of the financing cost, right? And I haven't done the research, but I'm pretty certain the cost of financing these things are climbing. So think about this, Rico. I know you guys have always complained about insurance, but insurance doesn't move as fast as fuel prices does, right? And it doesn't move as fast as financing costs.
Well, one claim.
Well, as long as you don't have any,
I gotta put a light on here.
incidents or claims against you, that's the variable in that equation. If you get a big claim or a big claim or something like that happens, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
But I want to ask something to Chuck. So Chuck, you said the guy's running 300,000 miles a year. What's the average he's going to make per mile? $1.50, $2?
It'll be under $2. Yeah.
Okay, let's make it $2. We're talking $600,000 of the total revenue if the thing runs for a flat out full year, right? Okay. Yep. And what's his fuel cost going to be on 300,000 miles?
About 70 cents a mile, right there. Easy.
I don't know how the hell you guys even make money. So,
and he's got a co-driver who's going to earn. That guy's going to earn close to $100,000 a year.
I don't think so.
No,
because I'm going to do the math for you. I'm going to do the math for you. You got $600,000 in revenue, but you just took off $210,000 for fuel.
And I haven't. Okay, and now we got to talk about the payments. So
we're down to three. Hold on, we're down to 390.
Co-driver, there's $100,000 a year. Okay,
we're down to 390. We're down to 390, right? Yeah. Okay, 390. So let's take maintenance at 10% of the total value of the truck. Let's say $20K for if assuming no problems, it's going to be $20,000 to maintain that truck that year. Assuming no problems, right? Okay. So we're now down to take 210 off. We're at we're at 390. Yeah, 390. Let's take off 20 we're down to 370. Now we got the payments.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So we're going to take off what, 100K for the payments?
They're going to be about between about close to $6,000 a month.
So that's 72K.
Yeah.
So we're down to 300. Okay. Now we're down to 300. Let's take off insurance.
Now he may get it at $2. He'll get his insurance covered somewhere. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to predict that
he has to put money aside because that engine's going to out of warranty. Because the warranty will expire, and he may get left with having to do an engine job. And these engines are expensive to build. All these components are very expensive to replace.
So, at the end of the day, what you're telling me is out of 600K, they're going to gross out after expenses maybe 200.
If he's lucky.
Right. If he's lucky, and no major problems.
And then we have another problem, this little thing called taxes.
Oh.
It's a sticky little thing, right? By the way, the guy hasn't eaten yet, and he hasn't gone to the bathroom yet.
Right? He hasn't paid for the home for his wife and children.
Yeah, they're living in the back of the truck.
Yeah, but he does have a wife and kids because I asked him. Yeah. And
so forget it. The guy would make more money driving to McDonald's and working there.
He would make more money being a co-driver. He'd make more money being a co-driver for $100,000.
That's the reality of what I'm saying. The thing that people are not doing, they're not running their business according to, because like I said, you cannot operate on the cart principle. Can't realize a profit. You got to be able to be profitable, and you got to be able to run down and everybody's business operates on that principle. But for some odd reason, we as truckers, we want to put the onus on the broker to give us enough money for us to run our business, and that's not the broker's job. There's anytime there's a contractual situation, there's somewhat of an adversarial dance that takes place, and it's your job to look out for your own best interest, not his. And you
So
can
now I'm
get
going to tell you this. Now I'm going to tell you the secret of brokers, because they're actually not brokers. They're your sales team.
That's right. That's exactly what they
So, so if you don't want to pay a salesman to do your job, go sell.
good luck.
exactly
Go knock on the door. Go introduce yourself. Give them all the contact info, website, which will cost you $50 to set up. Spend a weekend building a website. Connect it to your cell phone. Walk
the,
in and say, "Here it is. You need me in a pinch? You call me." You
but
do
see,
that
Mike,
enough.
that's too much. That's for some people. That is too much accountability and too much. They have to take too much ownership, because now that actually means they got to go get up and go do something. It's not as easy as going to the computer, going to the load board, open up and getting that low hanging fruit. And then
Well, bingo.
once you understand exactly how tough it is to get those no's after no's after no's when you're trying to talk to somebody, when you're trying to convince someone to give you the business, then you'll see what
But I'm going to tell you something funny. You're going to make money with my idea. Okay, you're really going to make money. Okay, let's just say, let's take your guy there who wanted $500 for 350 miles, right?
Mhm.
And if you tell me, okay, you know what I'm doing? I'm going to print up business cards. I'm going to create a website, which is $50, reserve my name, the whole thing. Okay, spend a weekend. Even if I pay a guy, it'll cost me $500 to do it. Okay, I connect my cell phone, not a problem. Now, if I make a point of every week to stop in at 10 places, introduce myself and say, hey, if you need me or you can't get it filled, just give me a call. And the guy calls you, you know he's tried the brokers hasn't been able to do it. You tell him, okay, how much was your last quote? The guy says, well, my last quote was 500. Well, I'll tell you what, and this is the way you do it. You tell the guy, look, you're a good guy. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to divert my next load. I'm going to come and get yours, but it's 550. You got to make him think he's getting a deal and that you're
Right,
doing him a favor,
right.
right? So you tell him, I'm going to put that other load on hold. I was supposed to pick it up tomorrow, but I'll tell you what I'll do. Thanks for calling me. I'll come and do it for you this time. If you do this just 10 times a week, and you guys don't get no's because you're just introducing yourself, you're giving your contact info, and believe me, everybody needs a go-to guy.
That's
Right.
right. Yeah. That's what the go-to guy only works if you run one lane,
That's
because
what I was just fixing to connect that
you
dot,
and I
sir.
think alike,
I
Rico.
was just fixing to connect that dot. This is why the key principle that we preach on this podcast, we tell everybody to develop either a dumbbell principle or a tri-hall, where you only have 3 to 2 markets that you service all the time. That way you can have that regularity, so that when you go and giving that business card out and you're telling them, look, if you ever have anything going back to Knoxville,
Atlanta.
Tennessee, I'm based out of Knoxville. I'm here I'm here every Monday, Tuesday, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you ever need anything moved back to Knoxville, Tennessee, or within a 100-mile radius of Knoxville, Tennessee, I'm your guy. Here's your call. And like I say, if you do that enough and accumulate that enough, but not only drop off your business card, but then get that contact information on LinkedIn so that you can continue
Oh,
to
look at
develop the
you,
relationship as
no,
a
you're standing,
reminder.
Rico. You're standing in front of the guy. Rico, I used to be in the trucking business. I used to go back door, knock on the door. I was the sales guy.
Right.
You get his email, you got a little phone, you sit there, hey, I'm gonna be up in Tennessee tomorrow. You got anything going back, you let me know.
He'll want to use you
And
because
and 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 and
they
here's
don't
another
put
thing.
stuff
We
on
just talked
the
about AI. I want to make sure I'm looking at trying to check the time. Yeah, we got to get to this other subject. But we was talking about AI earlier. Use AI to your advantage as well. Go to the AI and say, hey, develop me some autoresponder emails that I can send out to potential clients or something like that. And let
Tell me, Gmail takes care of all of it.
guys.
Gmail takes care of all that. It's
Can
easy.
we switch gears for a second? And
yeah,
I love this topic because it's close to my heart. Can we talk about some changes in U.S. legislation when it comes to emission standards?
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I,
what
I
that's
want
what
to
I was
get
getting
that
ready to
too, but
go.
I also want to give one very quick tip to anybody listening tonight. Remember, I always said keep a close eye on your clients. So I'm going to give you a very quick tip. If you go to your Google Chrome and you look for announcements, you can type in the names of all of your clients, and anything that comes up as an announcement about your clients will come into your feed. So if you don't want to follow your clients, have Google follow your clients. So take your top 20% of your clients, go to Google notifications, type in the company you want to be notified by, and it's going to send you notices about your clients.
I didn't know that, but I just wrote it down, and we'll be implementing that.
Google notifications.
Google notifications.
Okay.
Got it.
Go ahead, Chuck.
No, I just want to talk about the impact of the upcoming legislation with emissions in the U.S.
Well, actually, it's globally. It's not just U.S., but globally, they passed a very strong, a strong new law that they're all going to push EVs now very heavily, like really heavily. And as we said earlier, I think, for all the brothers and sisters out there who are right now doing a lot of work in the car industry, start pivoting, start building your connections elsewhere, because it's 2,000 components to build a car. It's 18 components to build an EV.
Going to hurt the auto haulers,
Right?
all the people
If
hauling parts.
if you're really good example is that, take a look at how many dealerships are closing down.
This is
Yeah.
just
Because a lot of dealerships are going to straight to consumer.
well, and also dealers. My understanding is car dealerships, but car dealerships especially, they make most of their profit on their service center, not selling us cars.
They do, but I mean, if you look at the way that the cars have been sold before, a dealer used to pre-order, 100 cars, 200
Right.
cars, 300 cars. They're not going to do that anymore. So it's going to be even the car industry is moving to just in time, which
Right.
is you order your car today, it'll be ready in 3 months. Mazel tov, there's your car. But it's not so much as the maintenance, so much as going to be the car building. So the supply chain is going to change tremendously. Think of mufflers as an example. Think of engine blocks, clutches. All those things are gone.
There's no transmission. There's
no engine.
There's no powertrain, really. There's a battery.
There's a battery.
This is going to have a tremendous effect on the car part industry, the different suppliers throughout the Rust Belt, and even so much so now down here in the Southeast, because you have BMW in South Carolina, you have Mercedes-Benz in Alabama, you have I think Nissan and Toyota both have plants in Tennessee and Alabama.
Here's a great case, Rico. You remember when free trade began, the auto industry used to ship the cars down to Mexico, get them put together, and shipped back. That won't be happening anymore.
Right.
Yeah, you built them anywhere.
Right. That won't be happening anymore. So it's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah,
a lot of things are going to change.
It's coming. I went into a farm supply store today to get some hydraulic oil for one of my farm tractors, and I see this beautiful big 0-turn lawnmower, and I thought, whoa, that is nice. That looks really solid. And I took a look at the back, and I thought, is it that gas or diesel? I go to open the back hood. There was no engine. It was a battery.
Right.
Like, my God. Yeah. And this is a commercial unit.
Right.
This, and I got to tell you, we have two big 0-turn 60-inch decks. These things, last year when I was cutting the grass, it was probably $60 to cut our grass. So you can see where this has had an effect. And of course, you have to use high-test gasoline.
Yeah. So the next time you got me on, Rico, I'm going to give a lot. Look, I do a lot of tech. So I'm going to give a lot, because I do a lot of marketing and a lot of marketing tech. And I'll be happy to give everybody a lot of tips on free tech on how to run their company remotely. Like, it'll be a piece of cake to implement, that they're going to reach you no matter where you are, and it's all free.
You know what, Mike? We might have you back on sooner than later on that, especially on that topic. I mean, the biggest thing that we try to do on this show, and we really are proponents of we're advocates for everybody in the industry first and foremost. But we really want to be able to give people, equip people with the tools to make life easier, more. And the number one thing is we want you to be more profitable. So
Yes.
that's why we try to disseminate the information that we do. We don't try to have a whole lot of fluff on this podcast. We don't try to do a whole lot of we primarily try to stay right directly in our lane. As boring as that may be, hopefully somebody sees the value in it that we try to bring. But
you're not even between spicy mustard and spicy mayo. Yeah,
So,
come on, let's be at least hot mustard and chipotle mayo, but we're not even that.
We're plain old mayonnaise over here. I mean, we just as plain as we can be.
Yeah, but it's white.
The thing about that is slow and steady wins the race is what I've always heard. And we try to be as practical as we can be and give out as good of information as we possibly can so that hopefully you can get something from it to help implement in your operation to make it a little bit more better. With that being said, man, I'm looking at the time. We're running up against it. Mike, I definitely want to thank you on the behalf of Chuck and myself for taking the time out to come.
Great.
I've got us written down for the free tech on how to run your company remotely. We're gonna definitely be following back up with you on that, and to get you back on to help maybe share that information with our listeners. Definitely a worthwhile talk. So with that being said, Michael, if you want to leave us with contact information, how can people, if they want to find you, if they want to shoot you a question or email or anything like that, how do they get in contact?
Michael.Lampel, Lampel @gmail.com. Shoot me any questions if you have on marketing, some marketing ideas. I do a lot of marketing because of the business I'm in, and also on the technology. And we'll do that show where I'll share with you, because I built my company on tech. My company is tech; it's a digital place, but I did it by basically running an entire company for less than with people spread all over for less than $500 a month, right? Because I knew how to connect all the dots. And it's not very complicated, but once you do it, like I gave you the idea of the Google notifications,
right?
You plug in your top 20 companies, your top 20 clients, you're going to know what's going on all the time.
And you can make the comment to them. Congratulations, I hear you won Broker of the Year award.
Or by the way, pay me my bill. I hear you're out of business next week.
I just happen to be in your neighborhood. I want to pick up my money.
Information is power, definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Michael, for taking the time out of your schedule to do so. We definitely are grateful for you doing so.
Thanks, Mike.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it,
guys.
And look forward to having you back sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, Chuck. I know you get
ready
to go AWOL. You get ready to go AWOL on.
Yeah, I'm ready to go AWOL for 17 long days, everybody. And if I can figure out how to work my email notification, I will. I'll put it on. If not, you won't hear from me for 2 weeks. But my email is chucksnow280@outlook.com. If I can help any of our listeners with any of their business issues, please feel free. And if you need to get set up with traffics, let me know. I still know everybody there, and I'll take you by the hand and I'll introduce you to whoever you need to be introduced to. And with that, Rico, I'm going to let you back her in a hole for another week. Actually, for another 3.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we definitely are grateful for you guys taking time out to join us. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you took a little time to hang out with us, whether you looked at us live or you catch us on a rebroadcast or looking at us on a recording. We're always eternally grateful for you doing so. If you found any of this information that we have shared with you tonight to be helpful, useful, share it with someone else. Let them, do us a favor, hit the share button, send it to somebody else. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That helps us get this message out to a broader audience. We're always looking to try to grow the platform and the podcast as big as we possibly can and try to get as much information out as we can. Do us that one favor. That's the only thing that we ask. It's free to do. It doesn't cost you anything to hit the thumbs up or to subscribe. And until the next time, till next week, same time, same place, we want everybody out there to stay safe, stay healthy, and keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise. God bless you and good night.
And don't accept any payments in crypto.
Catch on the flip flop.
Good night, gentlemen.
God bless. Thanks.